This beautiful chef had been using a secret spice that caused all the married men in town to criticize their wives' home-cooked meals and become insanely obsessed with the food at her restaurant. But what is really happening? And what secret lies behind these dishes? In a small town called Mubari, located in the eastern region of Africa, there is a restaurant famous throughout the area for its exquisite dishes. The owner of this restaurant is Helusa, a young woman with stunning beauty and rare cooking talent. Helusa's restaurant is situated right in the center of Mubari, where many restaurants are concentrated, but her restaurant is the most renowned. However, the real reason that Helusa's restaurant has become an ideal destination is not only due to the unique flavors of the dishes she prepares, but also because of a secret hidden within those dishes that only Helusa knows. From a young age, Helusa was famous for her cooking skills, inherited from her father, a well-known chef. As she grew older, Helusa opened her own restaurant with the determination to become the #1 chef in Mubari. However, people in the town often whispered that anyone who tried Helusa's dishes would never forget their flavors, especially married men. A strange and notable thing is that when a married man visits Helusa's restaurant and enjoys her dishes, he becomes disenchanted with family meals, those cooked by his own wife. He always feels uneasy and restless afterward, leading him to skip meals at home and instead seek out Helusa's cooking, where he experiences a delicious taste and an unusual sense of comfort and ease. Day by day, Helusa's restaurant was packed with customers, most of whom were married men. They frequently came for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, causing many wives in the town to grow increasingly worried and angry. As time went on, husbands became more reluctant to eat home-cooked meals, often comparing their wives' dishes to Helusa's. Many even said outright, "This dish can't compare to Helusa's. You need to learn how to cook again, because I can't eat these terrible meals every day." These issues gradually became the cause of conflicts in many families in the town of Mubari. Wives in the town began to feel dissatisfied and worried as their husbands spent more and more time at Helusa's restaurant rather than at home. Some husbands even bluntly advised their wives to learn from Helusa so they could cook better meals, and the wives certainly never felt comfortable with this suggestion. Unable to endure the situation any longer, a group of women in the town decided to hold a meeting to discuss how to resolve the issue. The meeting took place at the home of Fatima, a woman known for her influential voice in the community. During the meeting, they discussed finding out why their husbands were so enamored with Helusa's dishes. "What should we do, sisters?" Fatima began the meeting. "Why do our husbands no longer want to eat home-cooked meals and instead spend all their time at Helusa's restaurant? I think she might be using some kind of charm or a secret ingredient that makes our husbands so drawn to her." Another woman named Halima suggested, "Maybe Helusa is using a special spice or has some secret that we don't know about. I think we should keep an eye on her to uncover the truth." The others agreed, but after some discussion, they realized that spying and watching was not the solution to the problem. A young woman named Zuri proposed an idea. Instead of spying, why don't we go directly to Helusa and ask her to stop serving our husbands? We need to talk to her frankly. The group decided that this was the best approach. They believed that Helusa would listen and understand their situation. The next day, a group of women, including Fatima, Halima, Zuri, and a few others, went to Helusa's restaurant. At that time, the restaurant was very crowded, mostly with married men engrossed in enjoying the delicious dishes. The wives felt disappointed when they saw this scene, but they decided to go in and talk to Helusa. Fatima, representing the group, stepped forward and said, "Helusa, we know you are the best chef in town, and we cannot deny your talent, but we are here to ask you for one thing. Our husbands no longer eat home-cooked meals because they are enamored with your dishes. This is destroying our family happiness. I would like to ask you to stop serving them when they come to your restaurant and to encourage them to eat at home with their wives." Helusa smiled gently and said, "Why should I drive away my customers just because they enjoy my dishes? If you want your husbands to come home for dinner, make sure those meals are delicious and appealing. Furthermore, I do not force anyone to come here. They come because they love my food. That is their decision." The women felt irritated at this point and continuously demanded that Helusa fulfill their request, but Helusa firmly refused to change her stance. "I am not at fault in this matter," she said bluntly and strongly. "Instead of focusing on bothering me and making unreasonable demands in my restaurant, why don't you go home and improve your cooking skills? I think that's the best thing for you to do right now, instead of causing a scene here." Helusa looked at the women with an annoyed expression and shouted, "I am very busy. You are interrupting my work, so please leave." The women left the restaurant feeling angry and frustrated that their requests had not been met. They also didn't know what to do to bring their husbands back to family dinners. However, they still hoped that one day the secret behind Helusa's dishes would be revealed and the situation would change. Meanwhile, Helusa's restaurant continued to thrive. More and more customers, especially men, flocked to enjoy her dishes. The rumors about the restaurant's amazing and unique flavors spread, and even neighboring towns became aware of Helusa, which made her increasingly famous. Sometime later, a woman named Mira moved to the outskirts of Mobari with her husband Obi. Mira was also a well-known chef in the city, but seeking a life with less hustle and bustle, she and Obi decided to relocate to the beautiful and peaceful town of Mobari. Mira and her husband had just been married for 3 months, and they planned to open a restaurant there. Obi loved the dishes she cooked and often told her, "No matter where I go, I will always come home to eat your meals, because there is no food in this world that can be better." Mira always felt happy and joyful because of this. One day, it was raining heavily, and their home was far away. Obi was working in the town center, so he couldn't come home to eat with Mira. While he was working, he heard his colleagues praising Helusa's restaurant, saying, "You have to go eat there. I swear to you, after you finish eating, you'll see that nowhere else has dishes as delicious as those cooked by Helusa." Obi smiled and thought, what could possibly be better than Mira's cooking? However, out of curiosity, he decided to go to Helusa's restaurant to try her dishes. Helusa served him delicious and aromatic dishes, and Obi enjoyed his meal thoroughly. It was from this moment that everything within him began to change. Obi frequently skipped home-cooked meals to eat at Helusa's restaurant. Whenever he returned home, he always felt restless and irritated with Mira, starting to criticize her cooking. Mira felt sad and worried. From the very first day Obi tried the food there, their relationship began to show cracks. Obi was no longer cheerful as before, instead becoming gruff and irritable. He only seemed to be happy again when eating Helusa's dishes. Mira felt trapped and had heard the unpleasant rumors about Helusa's restaurant, which motivated her to investigate the secret behind Helusa's dishes. However, she still couldn't figure out how to uncover that secret. One day, an older man named Kofi visited Mira's home. He was her teacher, a renowned chef working for one of the most famous and luxurious restaurants in Africa. He was also known as the man with the keenest nose, as he could identify the ingredients in a dish just by smelling it and could tell how the dish was prepared. His dishes were always served to high-ranking individuals in society, including senior officials in the country and dignitaries from around the world. Among his students, Mira was his brightest pupil. Mira was very happy to reunite with her teacher. They chatted, and Mira shared with him the story about Helusa's restaurant and the changes in Obi after eating there. Kofi realized that there must be something unusual going on, and also wanted to uncover the secret behind Helusa's dishes. With the experience and talent of a true chef, he decided to help Mira discover the truth. The next day, Kofi visited Helusa's restaurant. The most noticeable thing there was that the majority of the customers were men, eating voraciously. After ordering, Kofi sat down and fixed his gaze on Helusa as she cooked. A little while later, when the food was served, Kofi was amazed by his ability to discern the aromas of the dishes. He immediately recognized something unusual. He had uncovered the secret behind Helusa's cooking. He approached Helusa, who was cooking in the kitchen, with a serious expression on his face. However, Helusa continued to smile gently and asked Kofi, "How can I help you?" Kofi maintained his stern gaze at Helusa and replied, "No, I'm here to talk to you about what you're doing. I've heard people speak of the strange behavior of men after dining here, and I believe I've uncovered the secret behind your dishes. I demand that you confess the truth." Helusa replied coldly, "I am just a chef. I don't know what you're talking about. I only cook well and do nothing wrong here." Kofi responded sternly, "You are a talented chef, Helusa. The men come here not just for the flavor of the dishes, but for what you have added to them. I advise you to confess before it's too late." At this moment, she looked closely at Kofi and gradually recognized the famous chef. Her eyes began to show signs of worry, as she knew that Kofi was not an ordinary person and that he had certainly uncovered the secret behind her dishes. However, she still couldn't bring herself to admit it. Instead, she defensively and irritably said to Kofi, "I haven't done anything wrong. Please leave my kitchen." Kofi coldly replied, "What if I take my dish and have it analyzed? It will surely reveal the secret behind your cooking, and I think this will definitely lead to an unfavorable outcome for you. Instead, why don't you confess to me and have a chance to make things right?" Helusa, at this moment, showed signs of astonishment and worry. She knew that with a renowned chef like Kofi, it was truly impossible to deceive him, and even though she didn't want to, she had to admit that he had uncovered her secret. Finally, with a look of worry and fear, she confessed to Kofi that she had been using drugs and adding them to her dishes, which made the men who ate them become addicted and only want to return to her restaurant. She explained that she had been painfully betrayed by her husband and witnessed the happiness of other couples during their meals. This bred jealousy in her, and she wondered, why do they have happiness while I do not, even though I have done nothing wrong? Because of this, a selfish and cruel thought arose in her. No, if I cannot be happy, then you do not deserve happiness either. You must suffer like I do. From that moment on, Helusa used drugs in her food, causing the men to become addicted to the flavors of her dishes, leading to the destruction of their family relationships. After confessing, Helusa begged Kofi for forgiveness. She apologized for her irrational jealousy and selfishness that had caused many families to fracture and turned the men into addicts. She cried in anguish, tormented and deeply regretful of her wrongful actions. Kofi gently said to Helusa, "A family meal is one of the most precious things. It deserves to be cherished and protected." He continued, "Even if life treats us unfairly, we should not use that as an excuse to destroy the happiness of others. We must be true chefs with professional ethics. We must not let selfish thoughts or our personal desires lead us to betray those ethics." Helusa looked at Kofi, deeply moved, and she realized that what she had done was entirely wrong. She asked Kofi to forgive her and to keep the matter confidential. Kofi looked at Helusa with a serious expression and said, "I will keep this matter confidential, but you must close your restaurant as it has caused too much trouble here. I need a sous chef. What do you think about coming to the city to work with me?" Helusa looked at Kofi, her eyes lit up, emotional, and gently said, "That is truly an honor for me. I will close this restaurant and come to the city to work with you." After the conversation, Helusa closed her restaurant and went to the city to work. The married men in the town of Mobari gradually forgot about Helusa's restaurant. They returned to the warm, happy flavors of family meals. Now, only Kofi knew the secret behind Helusa's delicious dishes. Kofi continued to guide Helusa on her path to becoming a true chef. He had truly opened up a new opportunity to help Helusa move away from her feelings of hatred and selfishness and to begin a new, more beautiful life. Through the story of Helusa, we are reminded that everyone will face life-changing events. But no matter the hardship or injustice, we must always maintain our kindness and ethics in all that we do. We should not allow selfish thoughts or jealousy to lead us to wrongful actions. This story is also a lesson in forgiveness and compassion, as everyone deserves the chance to change and become better. It also serves as a warning to appreciate family meals and to be cautious about food from outside sources.